I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're spotlighting a joyful, interactive children's book designed to build confidence, literacy, and family values from the very first page. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is AmandaDBarron, and she has penned a book you're just going to love. It is called Otis the Ox. It is an illustrated social emotional learning book that helps beginning and adult readers understand short and long vowel sounds through fun, movement, and creativity. This engaging story invites children to sing, draw, write, and color, turning reading into an experience the whole family can enjoy. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Lawford, and the Global Book Network entire staff for allowing me this opportunity to present my book to such an audience as this.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show. Your book is terrific. It really is going to be a valuable tool for so many young people and learners. Talk to us about why social emotional learning was very important to include in this book.
Social emotional learning is very instrumental in our schools today. It's a new paradigm that is used in pretty much in a lot of our schools today, especially the school for which I work. And I think very important that we know that in order to reach the child academically, we must address the emotional issues that the students sometimes encounter. And there are certain students that go undiagnosed,
Mm.
and or perhaps no one knows about exactly what they're encountering, or even the child. So in order to be able to teach them, we must address those kinds of things that we tend to see. And being a counselor or having a counselor background, I'm able to observe students and address those small things that I tend to see in the process of actually getting them engaged into the academic aspects of things. Emotions is very important, and students need to be cognizant of these various emotional issues that they encounter from time to time, where they are actually engaging with other students, their peers. And for the most part, I actually teach middle school students, and that is the age where students are between that stage of maturity, puberty, and those kinds of things, and peer pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Important lessons, no doubt. Positive family values are important for young readers as well. Talk to us about Otis and how Otis models positive family values for young readers.
Well, actually, this book right here, Otis the Ox, deals in the beginning. Otis talks about his family values, good health, education, faith, patience, and loving his family and his friends. It throughout this book right here, Otis travels to on old land to visit his grandma and his grandpa. And as a result of that, he's picking up his friends along the way to travel along with him. And he believes he has all this power and strength.
Hmm.
And as a result of that, in the process of doing that, he goes off to a part where he picks up individuals that have the long old name, or I mean the long old or the short old sound. And the thing about this right here is that Otis tends to actually have believe that he has all this strength and his power right here. And we have families. I put more emphasis on family. That is one of the main entity that was created by God. And we cannot forget about families and the values that each family holds, not to impose their values on someone else, as Otis pick up individuals along the way, and they were engaged in their own thing. There's so much meat in this right here. There's so much that can be extracted out of this book right here. And it's not necessarily a children's book, but it's bibliotherapy. It's therapeutic for adults. It's therapeutic for anybody that actually reads this book. There's so many things that are in our schools that we have to encounter. And in other words, this book right here, Otis, addresses one character in our school. There are
Hmm.
many different characters in the school. And this book right here, Otis, is part of a series of five books
Mhm.
Otis make the sixth book of this series right here. And there's a character that we have in all our schools. Otis being strength and value his family, value his friends. And at the end, right there, he goes to as he goes to and travel to his grandmother's house, who he values so much. His grandpa house. He end up in the nursing home and whatever it may be. These are the things that is so, like I said, in this short period of time, I cannot really express how much this book right here has to deal with our current educational landscape that's sometimes politicized, because so much has been done in as far as politics is concerned, and it spills over into our classroom, it spills over into our school. And Otis is just one particular character of the five of the books that makes up the series of this particular set right here. To get one book is to get a fraction of what all the message that wants to be conveyed or needs to be conveyed to our readers. And this book right here can actually be available and useful for project-based learning in our schools, where individuals get to do so much more work. They can do workshops, they can do play roles, they can do drama with this right here, and allow each and every student to actually be able to find themselves one of the characters that they can identify with. In this particular book right here, because values are important, and every family has values and every individual has value, but we cannot allow those things to be imposed on other individuals. We cannot allow it to be imposed in our classrooms, in our schools, and
Mm.
those kinds of things.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, this is a book, part of a five-part series, this Otis book. Do you have a name for the series at all?
Well, actually, understanding short and long vowels is the subtopic for all six books right here.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay, wonderful. Also, talk to us about the interactive approach of these books, how they're interactive and how parents, children, learners, and educators can use them.
well, to begin with, parents are the first teachers,
Yeah.
and when parents, regardless of the age, and not only in early childhood age, when parents get around and talk with their children, dialogue with them, talk about their school day and those kinds of things, and with able to be able to share the characters in this book right here, the different characters in the book, Otis the Ox, being having strength and power. And how do you see that when you're interacting with your peers,
Mm.
when you're not able to deal with peer pressure, when you're not able to deal with the political things in life, because so much, politics have really, infringe on just about every particular discipline, and it's in our school as well. So, how are you able to deal with this right here? Parents talking with their children, talking about the values and those kinds of things. This book right here, Otis, definitely talks about value, but we got so many other books that we have, like David the Lion, who
Hmm.
wants to make friends and whose parents are spending time with him. He have good mannerism and those kinds of things. We've got another book that we have here. We got Elijah the Eagle.
Hmm.
you know, Kids need to know, and parents need to know that there are opportunities out there for these kids. Everybody experience opposition. Everybody experience obedience and those kinds of things, but those things needs to be talked about and
Hmm.
cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
I've had a student recently to talk about, choose one of the books. She said, well, Miss Barron, we're Elijah the Eagle and we're Otis the Ox. Why are you Otis the Ox and why are you Elijah the Eagle? And what else is somebody else based on their parents' perspective and those kinds of are their own perspective? It's very important that we be a lot more considerate of each other's values and those kinds, and realize that each other person has their own value and others have theirs, and how we are to interact that with in our homes, in our schools, in our classroom, and have harmony and have peace
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Those are
tranquility.
vital lessons for parents, children, and all of society to learn, no doubt. Talk about movement and creativity for a moment and how it helps children in the reading process.
Movement and creativity. Bloom's taxonomy is one of those particular framework that I value so much and have high regards for. Creativity is at the very top of that pyramid, and in order to get to that point, there are other steps that must be mastered or accomplished or maneuvered through, and that is like analyzing things. sympathizing and bringing everything together, as these books right here, bringing everything together. And then there's an opportunity to be creative.
Hmm.
We know we got a lot of pioneers as far as Black history is concerned, as far as being a computer teacher, Bill Gates and those Steve Jobs and Job and everything like that. Those other individuals, Michael Dell. These are individuals that was very innovative, was creative, but they had the intricacies and the nuances of things, the analytical parts of things, to have the very fraction of pieces in order and to of the whole, and then you're able to create a lot more better. But to have a half of the whole, you're kind of limited. You may create something, but it won't be as effective as to have the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Phonics is at the heart of your book as well. Talk to us about why it's such a critical foundation for early literacy.
Phonics is very important. That's the small iota of letters and groups of letters that makes up a word.
Mhm.
Some individuals, most students get that in the early childhood age. However, what I've seen us experience, they need a refresher.
Yeah.
And this book right here offers this that refresher. They need that refresher because there are some students and so many students that in their early age of early childhood age of schooling, they were experienced crises and issues or problems, and it was like their growth to be ready to learn was lag compared to their peers.
Hmm.
So at some point, our schools are doing it, but we're not doing it enough. They need to do a lot more catching up and those kinds of things and refreshers. In this book right here, Otis the Ox, along with the other books that makes up the series of six, has a list of 11 tips or
Yeah.
strategies to help students decode words and to engage in reading. But I also tell them in order to be to increase your vocabulary and those kinds of things, or to be a better reader, you must engage in reading.
Yeah.
Um, it's very important. Is engaging in reading. But back to our what we talked about earlier about social emotional learning, and I use that. And that's one of my instrumental pieces in my classroom when I'm teaching students, because there's so much, behavioral issues and those kinds of things in our school.
Mhm.
Um, but when I see various things, because students sometimes, and a lot of teachers, even educators, don't realize that, but sometimes students don't even know what mode they're in, whether they are being in the emotional mode, they're happy, they're ready to move their feet, they are in the behavior mode, they're watching somebody else, they're not independent, or they're in the cognitive mode, which they're
Hmm.
supposed to be in at all times, but it's not as prevalent as them being in the emotional mode. And I've seen that time and again, and that is the issue, and that's something that needs to be addressed a lot more as far as family value is concerned.
Exactly. Readers
Mm-hmm.
are leaders. If children read more, they'll be strong in every subject. I really do believe it's the foundation of all learning, don't you think?
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful,
And
wonderful.
we just don't have enough reading programs in our schools as a core class. Being that reading is something that we do in all disciplines, it's not there. It's absolutely not there, and it should be there.
Absolutely. Amen to that. And wonderful work on this book and this series. The book we've been drilling down on today is called Otis the Ox. It is a fun, interactive way to build literacy, confidence, and joy in reading for children and adult learners alike. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Global Book Network and Mr. Crawford.
I
Thank you so
appreciate your
much.
time, your insight, the
My
wonderful
pleasure.
work you've done on this book, and your
Mhm.
dedication to children. To the folks at home,
Yes.
I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.